In my last video, I was talking about the whole list of places that I wanted to go for my solo trip, and today I've decided that we are going to be exploring Kamakura, Japan. So let's just get right into it. I will be going over flights, transportation, accommodation, and my 7-day planned itinerary that I made for this trip, and of course breaking down the costs for everything as we go. So first things first is the flight. So I would be flying from the United States to Tokyo, and it is a 24-hour total flight with only one stop in between, which is not that bad. And the flight that I selected cost $1,146, but it really ranged from around $900 to over $2,000. So it just depends on what month you go, and also I think what time of the day is what I noticed. And for transportation, luckily Kamakura is really close to Tokyo, so you don't have to take the bullet train or anything different. You can just take local transportation, which is just the local train, or you can probably take a taxi if you wanted to. But I chose the local train, which was... So for transportation, luckily Kamakura is really close to Tokyo, so you're able to take the local train to get there instead of taking the bullet train or anything crazy and trying to figure out that whole situation. So the local train, I believe, should be easier. And that would cost about 1,040 yen total to go one way. And the last section for this part is the accommodation. So I went on Hostel World, that website that shows you like really cheap places to stay. Found this place called Enoshima Guest House 134, and basically it gives you a dorm situation style room for basically $20 a night, and it looks pretty good. There's like a little common area where people, like the guests, can play board games, and they have table tennis and all sorts of stuff like that. It looks like it's in a really nice and convenient area too. It's like probably 2 minutes of a walk away from a train station and 5 minutes away from the beach, which really appealed to me, honestly. I don't know, I love the beach. The only thing that I was concerned about when I saw it was that sometimes there's not always a person there when you go to check in, because they give you a contactless key when you book a stay there. Like I think it's on your phone or something. So you can basically get in with that key and not an actual person, which I'm not entirely sure how that would work. I don't know how much I like that, but you know, I didn't actually book a room. So I think that's something to figure out before I actually go. So day one on this itinerary is basically a temple exploration and shopping day. There are two major temples on this list right now. The first one is Kotoku-in Temple. I think that's how you say it. I probably butchered it, but I don't know. It costs only 150 yen to get in. You've probably seen pictures of it before, but this temple has a giant copper Buddha statue, which would be absolutely awesome to go and see and just experience being in the place that it's in. I feel like it would be a super spiritual sort of awakening experience. I always love that kind of stuff. And just a fun fact about it is that it's really, apparently, it's weird that it's kind of out in the open air, like there's no building around the statue, but it's because a really long time ago, the building apparently that protected it got washed away in a tsunami or some natural disaster. So it's one of the only ones that is like out in the open and out in nature. So it's a little bit oxidized and green, but it's okay. It kind of makes it more beautiful. I think this would be a fairly quick visit, so that's why I added a second temple onto this list. And the temple is called Hasadera Temple. It costs only 400 yen to get in, and it's a really short walk from the first temple, so you wouldn't really need to pay for a train or anything if you're okay with walking. This one is a lot bigger and has more of a potential to explore grounds for a longer time, so you could probably stay there for a couple hours. But it's really nature focused and has a lot of traditional buildings, and you can read about the history there as well. And then after these two temples, there's a street called Komachi Dori Street, and this place is apparently known for pancakes. I had no idea about that before, so I suppose you would have to go to a little cafe and try their pancakes. I'm not complaining at all. But they have all sorts of artisans and artists who sell their crafts and probably even do classes there. That is later on the itinerary though, pottery class. But anyway, they've got ceramics, Kamakura carvings, which a lot of people use as little souvenirs, like specific to that city to bring home, and like traditional Japanese paper. I think it's called washi paper. I'm not entirely sure about that, but they sell it there and you can probably do whatever you want with it. I'm not sure what it's usually used for, but people also use that as souvenirs as well. There are also lots and lots and lots of restaurants and cafes and coffee shops that you should probably visit there. They probably have a lot of good stuff, especially pancakes, if you remember. And what I also thought was really funny and cool is that they have a lot of animal cafes. They have owl cafes, cat cafes, dog cafes, even pig cafes. So that is absolutely probably number one on my list when I go to this street is I have to visit at least one or two kinds of animal cafes. And then lastly, in the same area, there's also apparently a famous little train station there by the coast. I think it was made famous by a show or anime that people like. I don't know what it's called, but I just found it through my research. But it's apparently just a really pretty area where you can see like the railroad and then there's the sunset right above it. So I don't know, I would go just to see it just because. And on to the next day, day 2. This is Enoshima Island Day. So I put this in the Kamakura trip because Enoshima is really close and you can also get there by the local train. But Enoshima Island is kind of small, so you can just make it a day trip. You can explore a little bit around there, and then there's also a couple things to do that I've listed here. So the first thing are the Enoshima Island shrines. There are 3 of them there, and you can see all of them together for only 200 yen, because I think they're all connected to the same company that like runs the admissions or something. But I'd say that's a pretty good deal. And I love the sort of temples and shrine stuff, so that's why I added a lot of that on here. But I think it's cool to see the history of it. These little shrines are just really beautiful to go see, and you can read the history. And it's right on the island, probably by like the coast or the beach or something, so a good place to hang out and chill. Second on this list on Enoshima Island is Iwaya Caves. This is really weird, but I love exploring caves for some reason. A lot of people think it's scary. It is kind of scary, but it's also really cool. It only costs 500 yen to get in, and it's like a guided tour, so you can go in the caves with a tour guide. And then outside, there's like a little area. There's also a restaurant there and probably a gift shop of some sort. But the restaurant has like a lot of, I guess, unique seafood, at least unique to me, because I don't usually eat like squid or anything. But I don't know, if it's made there, I'd be willing to try it. But they have a lot of history there too. Like these caves apparently were the origin of some of the shrines there. I think it was 2 of the shrines sort of came from the caves, and there's also a shrine inside the cave. So that would be cool to find out too, and just read about all that sort of history. There's another shopping area on Enoshima Island, and the name is kind of long, and I'm not going to try to butcher it on here, so I'm just going to write it. But the main sort of thing there is the street food, like the street food stalls that they have there, and like little coastal souvenirs you can get there as well, specific to Enoshima Island. So that's why people go there. And of course, like all the shopping streets, it has a bunch of different crafts and artisans that they have there too, just selling their stuff. And then the last thing that I sort of added onto this as a random experience, there's a hotel there called Enoshima Hotel, I'm pretty sure, but it has a spa that you can apparently get a day pass for. So you can get a day pass there for anywhere from 1,000 yen to 3,600 yen. And it's really cool for that price because it has hot springs inside caves underground that you can go sit in and relax, and just regular like indoor and outdoor pools and just taking in the scenery. And I'm sure they have massages there of some sort too, but I just want to go into the cave hot springs. That would be the best thing ever. On to day 3 of this itinerary. So this day, I've sort of just made it an entire art museum day because I love going to all sorts of different art museums or history museums, any sort of museum. There's 3 different ones on here. Museum of Modern Art Kamakura Annex is the first one. Kaburaki Kyokata Memorial Art Museum, and Kamakura Museum. These are all art museums. They all feature unique art pieces, whether that be like ceramics, sculptures, or just like paintings and things like that. But one of them is a garden art museum. So they basically just have their art scattered, or not scattered, more of arranged through a really beautiful and like well kept little garden that you can just walk around and sort of chill in also, because that one also has a little cafe in there. And it apparently has a really good view that people try to get in, but you might as well buy something while you're there just to support it. I don't know. On to day 4 of this itinerary, which is the beach day. This might be one of my favorite days for multiple reasons. In between all the craziness of walking around and, you know, probably taking the train somewhere if you need to and just being tired all day, you need at least one day in between to relax and just kind of chill. Just because I like the beach so much, I could probably make this an entire day. I also like to collect shells like a crazy person. So, knowing me, I would probably get up at the crack of dawn and go at low tide and start collecting shells. So that's what I would be doing, and then I would relax. There are a couple different beaches along the same coastline that you can walk to. I mean, they're all pretty close together, they're small beaches. But then there's also an aquarium. If you walk far enough, you can see this little aquarium literally right on the beach, which I think is really cool. And there's all sorts of other stuff on the coast too, like restaurants and cafes and shops and things like that. So there is plenty to do, or if you just want to sit on the beach. To add on to this beach day, there are also plenty of water sports in the area too. Like there are classes that people teach for surfing, paddleboarding, and water biking. I'm not entirely sure what that means. I couldn't really figure it out, but I don't know, it seems cool and you might as well take a class. Next up is day 5, which is the culinary and food centered day. I found out that you can take culinary classes there. There's this one class that I saw that is about either 5,000 to 10,000 yen. It takes probably almost your entire day, but you learn to make 9 different Japanese dishes, which I think is the coolest thing ever. There, they will also teach you how to make sushi and like how to make little bento boxes, which I think would also be super fun. And to add on to this, if you're so inclined, there's also a wagashi class, which is basically just like Japanese sweets. That's what wagashi is. And it costs 8,500 yen. They teach you how to make 2 different kinds of Japanese sweets. And I'm super interested in that because I'm a baker, I do that for my job, and I think that would be super fun. Day 6 is pottery day. I mentioned probably multiple times in the 3 different shopping streets that I mentioned that you can buy ceramics there and like carvings, but you can actually learn how to do it yourself there also. The specific place I found is in a town or like an area of the city called Kamakura. It's known for its more traditional structure, like it has sort of shrine-like structures. That's what I saw. I don't know what they're called, like those gates, but it's also sort of in the forest, and it's just like a really widespread area that you can go visit and just explore a little bit and be out in nature and just have fun and see like really cool scenery. I know that with pottery they have to fire it or something after you're done, so you could probably stay in that area until the rest of the day or the end of the day and use the rest of the day to just explore that area, because along with the traditional setting they also have sort of another little shopping area, but it's more craft centered and artisan centered, which I would be totally into. I would love it and I would spend a really long time there. And I'm not sure how much things there cost, but I'll try to estimate at the end of the video. And last but not least, day 7 is sort of a free day. Whenever I take a trip, I always want to leave the very last day to be a free day so I can do whatever I want or revisit something that I liked. So on this day, I only have one specific thing written down, which is Gallery Kazu. This is an art gallery that you can go and sort of experience immersive experiences of art and just different ceremonies. But the one that stood out to me was a tea making ceremony. You can learn how to make like traditional tea and just sort of how to do that whole process. So I think that would be really cool. But then the rest of that day, I would probably use to, revisit a shrine that I liked or go back to the beach or, go back and shop if I saw something that I liked. So you can really do whatever you want with the last day. And that is the whole 7-day itinerary. And then after that, you would just have to take the train back to Tokyo and your flight back home. So this is the moment that we've all been waiting for. Here's the cost breakdown for everything in this video. I've got it right here on my computer. So first up, for all the experiences that I listed, just like the admissions and just getting into everything, would cost about 22,290 yen, which is only $138.37 in USD. And then I also tried to calculate the regular person would spend on food during that 7-day period there, and the internet told me about 35,000 yen, and that equals to $217.28 in USD. So that also isn't that bad. And as I mentioned before, the round trip flight is $1,146, and then the accommodation for 8 nights is $160. So the grand total is $1,661.65. Obviously the most expensive part was the flight, but overall I'd say that's a win. So that's my whole plan if I actually do go to Kamakura, Japan. I am honestly really excited about this. It seems really cool and everything I put together I really like, but I'm also terrified because I've never tried to navigate a place like that by myself. But knowing me, I could probably figure it out. But also, if anyone has been to Japan, let me know if you have any tips or hidden spots I should look into for this trip. Anyway, if you want to see what I plan next, be sure to subscribe.